This, ladies and gentlemen, is on women empowerment, access to finance, and health choices. So this promises to be very engaging. Let's kick things off with our first panelist, Omomi Akingbonge, I practiced that, who is the Executive Director at WIMBIZ. And there she is. She's going to let me know if I pronounce her surname properly. We've got Imi Ainomugisha, who is the African Union Wi-Fi program. That's very clever. It's Wi-Fi with a W-Y-F-I. You're welcome. Oluwa Fini, of course, is a special advisor to the Lagos State Governor on Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. And we also, okay, we have men on the panel. Okay, yes, that is very good. Dr. Akinbajo, maternal health and family planning analyst at UNFPA. If there's time, I actually have a question for you if the Q&A allows for it. That's fantastic. You're welcome. You're welcome. And Mr. Oyebisi Oluseyi, Executive Director at the NNNGO, if he's with us as well. And our moderator is Uti Gabriela Elu, Group Head, Customer Experience Strategy at Sterling Bank. All right, we're going to get things rolling. You're all very welcome. I pronounced the name correctly. I did a good one. Thank you so much for the confirmation. All right, take it away.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I was hoping when the previous speaker talked about lunch, I was like, oh, we're going to be the panel that goes after lunch. But thankfully, we're not. Okay, I'll move over here. Okay. So thankfully, we're not the panel that goes after lunch. I'm now not sure if that's a blessing or a curse, because people want to eat. But when we talk about bias, we tend to think about it in the negative. But today I'm going to display some positive bias and say, this is the best panel that you're going to listen to today. It's such a crucial topic that we're going to be looking at. As the compare said, my name is Uti Elu. I'm excited to be here today, and I thank everybody for joining and staying so far over the 2 days of this summit. Women empowerment, so important. I'll begin with a quote to try and ground us. It says, when women are empowered and can claim their rights and access to resources, families and communities are stronger, economies grow, and development gains are sustained. Let's just take a moment to reflect on that. How different would our countries, I was going to say country, but we are Africa, so how different would our countries, our organizations, and our communities look if every African woman had full agency over her body, her bank account, and her future? I was going to start by asking a question to say, do we believe that empowering women is not a social good, but a strategic investment in resilience and development? But I think that question answers itself. And this session is exactly about that. Across Africa today, women are upholding households, farms, markets, and movements. But they remain structurally underserved when it comes to health systems, finance, and leadership spaces, especially in climate-impacted regions. So today we're going to spotlight those bold African-led solutions that are moving from the margins to the center of climate resilience, economic power, and social transformation. We're going to break this down into 2 sections. Our aim is to leave this room with clear, actionable recommendations, new alliances, and a shared commitment to drive gender-inclusive progress across Africa's development landscape. Our first part of the conversation will set the stage by exploring women's empowerment as a core resilience strategy. And then we'll shift to the theme of this event, looking at the bold actions and the system changes, examining what's working, what's needed, and how we can scale. So let's dive into what promises to be an excellent conversation. I'll kick off by just giving our panelists 2 minutes quickly to introduce themselves, and we'll dive into the first set of questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Imi Nacheyune Ainomgisha. I bring you greetings from Uganda. I run an organization. Thank you. I'm happy to be in the vibrant city of Lagos, and I'm already inspired these past 2 days. I run a community enterprise support organization for women, and we work closely with YFA, African Union. I will talk more about our work later, but I'm happy to be in the vibrant city of Lagos.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Not easy standing in between lunch. My name is Omoumi Akingbongbe, and I'm the Executive Director for WIMBIZ. WIMBIZ stands for Women in Management, Business and Public Service. And our mission as an organization over the past 24 years of existence is to inspire and empower women to attain leadership positions in management, business, as well as public service. Now, we achieve this using different forms of programs and initiatives, one of which is the WIMBOD program, where we prepare women for boardrooms, boardroom dynamics, as well as corporate governance. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Akin Bajo. I work for the United Nations Population Fund, and we are the Sexual and Reproductive Health Agency of the United Nations. We deliver a world where every pregnancy is wanted, every childbirth is safe, and every young person's potential is fulfilled. We work around women, we promote bodily autonomy for women, empower women, and also with adolescents to safeguard their future reproductive health. I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
My name is Oyebisi Babatunde Oluche, and I work with the Nigerian Network of NGOs. For 32 years, we have served as the infrastructure for ensuring that nonprofits in Nigeria can do their work effectively, from engaging with government on regulations that enable the sector to building the capacity of our members to be able to do their work effectively, up until also ensuring that global development fits so well into our national development plans, from the MDGs and now to the SDGs. That's the frame within which we work, and I welcome you to Lagos.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those wonderful introductions and introducing your organizations. So I think I'll start with you, Omoumi. Women-led networks like WIMBIZ have been instrumental in advocating for gender equity at the leadership level, but the challenge remains in translating boardroom advocacy into tangible grassroots impact. Bridging this gap is essential for addressing climate, health, and development challenges in a way that truly empowers women. So how can networks like WIMBIZ move beyond boardroom advocacy to directly support scalable women-led businesses that are tackling these critical issues?
Am I audible? Oh, great. Okay. First thing that I want to highlight in responding to that is to sensitize us on the importance and significance of decision making when it comes to support that is available for women-led businesses tackling issues in climate, health, as well as developmental challenges. Now, for every solution out there for these businesses, even for summits like this, bringing together stakeholders to identify gaps, prefer solutions, for every policy, for every framework, every program, every initiative that is out there, they all start with decision making. So decision making cannot be sidelined in coming up with scalable solutions to be able to address this. Now, this takes me backwards to who are the people making these decisions? Who are the people at the table? If we're talking about things affecting women and youth, the best people to prefer solutions, who will not only be referring to statistics, but also to their reality, is to have a fair representation of women at that decision-making table. Now, this is where network like WIMBIZ comes in, because what we drive is how to get women to this table, to have a voice, to be listened, and come up with solutions that affect their reality. Driving this will not just help with overlooking, to help with balanced perspectives when preferring these solutions. At the same time, we will avoid some blind spots. Now, data has also shown that even when these solutions are available, adoption rate is very low. And why is that? Because it's either the solutions do not speak to the reality of the supposed beneficiaries, or they're not aware. Now, networks like WIMBIZ stands as that bridge to not just create, because we're an aggregation of women running businesses, making impactful solutions around the globe, as well as being in corporate boardrooms, taking decisions, and public governance. Now, being able to drive that will ensure that there are balanced perspectives in making these decisions that will eventually trickle down to the women-led businesses that are supposed to adopt this solution, as well as creating awareness, because that has been sticking out in terms of the adoption of these solutions. Is that they don't see it as their reality, they don't even believe that it would work for them, and will not even bother. And for those that eventually now adopt it, the network also starts as a body that can showcase success stories on this has worked for someone in Uganda, it has worked for someone here in Lagos, and bringing it to the forefront, distilling the language to that which women at the grassroots can connect with. Thank you.
It's absolutely amazing. And, you know, when you were just talking about scaling, all that was going through my mind was how WIMBIZ has in fact scaled over the years. And that awareness is coming from the word of mouth that happens as that network continues to grow. Thank you for sharing that. So I'd like to come to the health part of the conversation, Dr. Akinbajo. Across Africa today, regions are grappling with conflict, displacement, the growing impact of climate change. All women face layered crises. These pressures don't just affect livelihoods, they directly challenge their ability to make decisions about their bodies, their health, and their future. In these environments, the strength of sexual and reproductive health systems can mean the difference between vulnerability and resilience. It can mean the actual difference between survival and self-determination. So how can we strengthen sexual and reproductive health systems to empower women in these vulnerable contexts?
Okay, thank you very much. All right, strengthening sexual and reproductive health systems in climate context is non-negotiable. And why is that? Climate stress and insecurity affect women disproportionately, which further deepens the pre-existing gender inequalities that we have. And so, the system is already fragile, and it becomes more essential for women to access sexual and reproductive health service. Think about it this way. In crisis, reproduction doesn't stop. Menstruation doesn't stop. These are natural biological mechanisms that keep us. So the desire to have sex, to continue, these things keep going on. Unfortunately, during crisis, it is worsened. and more women are affected. So you just have to position sexual and reproductive health as an essential health requirement at that point. And so in strengthening SRH system, sexual and reproductive health system, it is a multi-pronged approach, and also it requires everybody being on deck, all hands being on deck. It requires collaboration. So the first thing you want to do is to integrate SRH systems into emergency preparedness, humanitarian preparedness. You want to integrate it into climate adaptation plans, into disaster risk reduction strategies. You don't want to wait for these things to happen. You just must integrate them. And that's why at UNFPA we support states to implement what we call minimum initial service package. And at that package, if that package is available, you are able to minimize the effect and vulnerability on women during crisis and at stress. Number two, you also go beyond the conventional health system where women will come to facilities. Of course, in crisis, they cannot even come to facilities. So you have to think about how to take the services to the women. And so you start thinking about mobile health service delivery, start thinking about community delivery network. It's important that you train female providers to be able to provide these services and deliver them to women. And so you are ensuring a consistent access to contraception, to safe motherhood, to gender-based violence responses. So you have to use that mobile health service delivery. Number three, what you do, you can also leverage technology. People carry their phone, and that's where you would start to think about WhatsApp chatbot. You start to think about USSD for women to continue to access information on SRH and continue to access services. You also want to consider the training of health workers, and in this case, Nigeria is doing very well, pushing the agenda on tax shifting and tax sharing. Our community health extension workers are valuable here, and they are the ones that are the frontline healthcare workers that will provide these services. Lastly, you also want to preposition commodity and contraceptives. You want them to be there for women to access. So you must plan ahead and get them positioned. You think about reproductive health kits, you think about dignity kits, you think about contraceptive methods. They are already prepositioned. They are not things you start to work towards getting after that. And for you to know, climate crisis, climate and insecurity, climate stress and insecurity will also disrupt supply chain. So you want to think out of the box, look at innovative supply chain methods that you want to put in place that will ensure that commodities are available to women. When women are able to decide if, when, and how many children they have, they are more likely to pursue education, economic opportunities, and then lead their communities in climate adaptation and peace building. And so that is reproductive resilience for us, ensuring that women, whether in crisis or out of crisis or in climate or insecurity like we have in the Northeast, they continue to have access to services. And not just services, you are actually preserving their autonomy, you are preserving their dignity, and at the same time, you are empowering them to lead changes within their community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's such a robust answer. Please, a round of applause for that answer. The solutions you've talked about, for me, it all boils down to the last few words, the autonomy for the woman, because all the different panels, all the different things that we've talked about, the last panel on education is still down to the woman. The children, the support, all of that still comes from the woman being able to support and drive that foundation. So I'd like to come now to the non-profit side of the conversation, and I'll start with you, Oyebisi. The non-profit sector often drives community-based solutions. So how can civil society strengthen its role in ensuring access to health and finance for women in hard-to-reach areas?
I think for me, when you look at communities across Nigeria and Africa, non-profits are the first responders, whether dealing with menstrual poverty or period poverty, dealing with gender-based violence, dealing with issues around health awareness, women empowerment. They're the first responders, and that role is very critical. So it means that no non-profit should die. In fact, it's already too late, so no. We will spend the billion, right? And we'll change the culture. So it's anchoring it on changing the culture, which is how do we build public trust such that the funding challenges that we have now, we can begin to get citizens to trust us enough to keep our doors opened. I do know that in some communities today, if non-profits close shops, then we're going to be in trouble. So we want those doors open, but it is on us as non-profits to strengthen public trust in our work. That's number one. The second bit is how we now engage with government and private sector. And that engagement has to be both strategic, balancing collaboration with confrontation. Understanding that there's a time when we need to sit down, use the stories, the lessons, the lived experience and the learned experience we've seen in the field to change public policy. And when that is not moving, there's the role for calling out. How we balance that becomes very much important, including how we show the private sector the value of what we do and what it means to they themselves being able to open their offices every day. Because where you have disruption, no business would move. Where you have crisis, businesses will struggle. And that's the type of social capital that non-profits bring to the table. And if I connect it to the first part where I'm saying no non-profit should die or close down, is the fact that we contribute to the social and solidarity economy. The level of jobs that we create, the catalytic effect around, what we contribute to the economy and the taxes that we pay, all helps to grow the economy. Now, bringing it back to my third thought around how we then, as either government, private sector, recognize the role of civil society, that they are not noisemakers, but that they are that feedback mechanism that helps you to think through your risks, but also think through your policies, their impact, and understand that if I'm going to give you feedback, I can't be laughing and giving you feedback. Think of a customer care agent. They have chopped your ₦1, and you've picked up the phone. The anger is there. So the message and the messenger, we focus on the message to retool public policy. So if we're going to get better outcomes for women, whether in terms of financial inclusion or they having their own agency, then we must pay attention to the emotions coming from the messages that non-profits have to give you, which would be women are dying. Not how many of them. Why are they dying? What do we need to solve this? And what solutions have you tried on the ground that is helping? Until we do those three, in my own opinion, we still the joke.
Thank you for that. That's really thought-provoking. Those questions you asked are important. And in fact, when you started from public trust, for me, that's where it starts. Because I think it was one of the speakers yesterday who talked about international funding. We've seen what's happened with USAID. So it's Africa for Africa right now. And to get those funds in, to get that commitment, public trust really is at the heart of that. So thank you for sharing that. Imi, I'll come to you. As the other non-profit on this panel or representative, I'd like you to talk about what you're doing at Mkazipreneur, what you're doing to support women entrepreneurs, and the African Union's Agenda 2063 implementation.
Thank you. I think the hardest time to speak is during lunchtime, but I'm happy to see that there are people that are listening and clapping to our views. The African Union Agenda 2063, I think let me elaborate a bit on that. So the vision of Agenda 2063 is to envision the Africa we want. There are a number of parameters that were put by African Union so that by 2063, we work towards some of those parameters. You can visit the website and read about them here and there. In those parameters, there is an aspect on youth and women, there is economic development and all. So the Department of Women and Youth under African Union also came up with a target to unlock millions of dollars for women businesses across Africa. Now, they do this by partnering with a number of organizations and non-profits across Africa. In Uganda, they partner with us, Mukazipreneur. Now, Mukazipreneur, if you know Bantu language, Mukazi means a woman, and then preneur is preneur. So we started Mukazipreneur in 2018 as an ESO, Enterprise Support Organization, to skill women. Along the way, we realized things were not working. We said, how do we get the government into the conversation of supporting women businesses in Uganda? National Social Security Fund in Uganda came together with MasterCard Foundation and created a fund of millions of dollars to support businesses of young people and women in Uganda. That was in 2020. 5 years down the road, the fund has been able to unlock capital for 439 businesses. That's over $8 million for women businesses and young people in Uganda. It has also unlocked over 300,000 jobs of young people in Uganda. But do you know how those results came about? It was because of collaboration between the government, a funder who is MasterCard Foundation, and enterprise support organizations like Mukazipreneur in Uganda. Without collaboration, without partnership, nothing can be done. We have to all agree. So the conversation we are having with Wi-Fi African Union is to see how we can replicate this model across Africa. We've been to Tanzania, we've been to Lesotho, and hopefully we shall visit Nigeria and try to speak maybe to the government, to the version of a social security fund in Nigeria. You know, yesterday I listened to the representative from the fund from Nigeria, and the portfolio was quite big. I imagine if 1% of that portfolio was put in a fund to support women businesses in Nigeria. Do you know the impact that would do? Thank you. The National Social Security Fund in Uganda has created over 300,000 jobs. These jobs put back money to the fund. Aren't they smart? Yeah. It puts back money to the fund. So while they're supporting young people to grow their businesses, they're also supporting the country to grow. So I think it's about time the government gets together with non-profits and also funds. Imagine if all these sponsors each committed $50,000 to a fund to support women businesses. Imagine that. Yeah. Okay.
Definitely food for thought. I love how the trend of collaboration and partnerships keeps flowing through the different panels. What you've spoken to about the fund was similar to what the group executive from Sterling Bank was talking about with education as well. So there really is a place for that. And I think we've done a great job of setting the scene in terms of how we're empowering women and what needs to be done. But this summit is really about solutions. We're about scaling action, about scaling solutions, about bold actions. So I'd like to come back to you, Oyebisi, and talk about the accountability mechanisms that can be co-created with communities to ensure that health and financial interventions truly serve women and girls. How do we keep the system honest and women empowered once the funding flows? Okay. No?
So the two key words for me would be honesty and accountability. And you've asked me to be honest too. And I'll be honest. Part of that honesty is how I learned the hard way. I was sitting in my office some 7, 8 years or 9 years ago. Then we were discussing with colleagues. And one of the colleagues said to me that why are we not, we were talking about toiletries. And she said, why are you not providing pads? See how you did. I'm like, hello. That was my first shock at understanding what I call the science of being a woman. And she went on to tell me how expensive it is. Then I started paying more attention. Then when colleagues in my office started getting married, I then started seeing the need for them to either have someone stay with the child or get a nanny. Then I started paying attention to the former PepsiCo president, Indra, who started talking about a care economy around, if a woman would be in my role, typically my role requires that 310 days or 312 days you're not sleeping in your house. So if you're talking about female leadership in my role, if the care economy is not there, then she won't be an executive director of the Nigeria network of NGOs. So first is the care economy. How are we ensuring that if a woman needs to travel, she doesn't have to think, where will my child be? Where will my son be? Who will do homework for them? Because there's a care economy that supports that. And I think that's where organizations come in, where she needs to travel with a nanny. We justify it. She goes with the nanny. They need to bring children into the conference. They bring it into the conference. They make noise. We don't care. Because that is how we can support. So I experimented something. Again, one of them got pregnant. And came to my office and said, the way I am feeling, I don't understand it. So I went out and said, okay, maybe, what does it feel like to be pregnant? And they explained, and said, okay, all right, HR, let's have a policy that says, if you feel anyhow in the morning and you don't want to come to the office, don't come, don't bother, just send us an email. That's how you have filled for that money. All right. Then we pushed it further to say, when you've had the child, we understand that 6 months maternity, breastfeeding and all of that, can we have a 2 years long work from home? Where when you wake up. So I presented that to my board and they approved it. But before approval, let me tell you the joke. It was, what if within that 2 years they now give birth to another one? I said, oh, that's true. Let me rethink this policy. All right, maybe we put a clause that says XYZ, XYZ. And why have I cited that example? I don't know how to be a woman. No one taught me how a woman feels beyond I love you. Hey, you have a headache, I'm sorry. Sorry, have you used medication? Hey, do you want tea? So if we truly empower women, we must pay attention to the science. In fact, now I'm learning about menopause and leadership for women, where by the time you are getting to 47, 50, it could be tricky for you with menopause coming in and all of that. Again, the honest part there is all of us, whether men, whether women, must be honest about these conversations. But beyond that, see how we can create systems that can help women have their agency. I'll tell you a final story. I have an aunt. 8 years ago, I've been saying, Auntie, please get an account. She will say, see, this bahala of getting an account is too much. 3 days ago, she called me and I said, have you gotten this? I said, don't worry. You see my number, just remove 0. All of the other number, that's my account number. See what the likes of, without mentioning brands, I've done to save my life. All because she has a mobile phone. There's an app somewhere that says, just take away your not there. She just says, take away the 0. Meaning, don't bother asking me for account number. Just take away the 0, and then you have my account number. Now, what does those two stories tell us? It's about how government think policies. There's a gender policy in this country, but what does it say about care economy? There's a financial inclusion policy in this country. What does it say about women in rural areas and the ease of being able to use technology and our banking industry?
Wow, I think he deserves a round of applause. In a gender conversation, you're the real he for she on this stage today. Absolutely, right? You know, when you were talking, it hit me. When you mentioned the care economy. The scenario you talked about, I'm in it right now. My nanny literally just upped and came to me on Friday night and she said, Ma, I don't think I fit to this work anymore. And I went, okay, you can't force them to stay, and life goes on. So coming here today, I'm thinking, what do I do with my son? School ended yesterday. So today he's home, and I have to be here. It was a thought process of running through 2 or 3 friends and family before I found, okay, I can drop him off here and pick him off later. So the idea of thinking through and trying to walk in the shoes of a woman is the only way you can truly understand the challenges and you can come up with innovative solutions. I mean, if you have 2 years work from home, I mean, post-COVID, where we mothers were sort of enjoying that. But the thought that goes into that is what more people need to be doing to be solving the gender problem. Because yes, we have a lot of problems. Networks like this, or events like this are fantastic for bringing people together. But in every conversation, the gender problem is real. So thank you so much for sharing that. That was really, really thought-provoking. Momi, I'd like to come to you and talk about strategic partnerships a bit more. What strategic partnerships or capital structures could elevate more women into climate finance, innovation leadership, or green entrepreneurship across Africa?
All right, thank you. And I'll first of all come up with an example. Now, there's this partnership between McKinsey and the UK Aid, where I think it's called Manufacturing Africa. And what they're looking for are businesses that are investment ready. The UK Aid is providing foreign direct investment, and this is happening across several countries in Africa. Now, over the past, I think this has been running for about 2 years now. It's supposed to run up until 2006. They have been able to close several deals and create jobs, provide funding in grants of over $600 million. And McKinsey approached Wimbes saying, hey, while this is not specifically meant for women-led businesses, but we know that your network, you probably have women businesses that qualify for this kind of foreign direct investment. Can we work together and identify them, analyze them, and check that they're investment ready, prefer certain solutions, and explore how they can get access to this finance? Now, that is collaboration, again, and strategic partnership. Now, everybody has what they bring to the table. NNGO, I mean, Wimbes belongs to your network, the United Nations, as well as the African Union. We all have different parts of the solution that we bring to the table. Now, working in silos, we would get some traction, but not as far as we would want to. So coming up with such strategic partnerships where an African Union with the 2063 agenda and the programs and initiatives that they have in place, the framework, connect with consulting firms too that are able to analyze these businesses on how they can take advantage, connect with women network that are able to distill and break down whatever solution that is available to the reality of these women-led businesses would be kind of partnerships that we should try and explore. Thank you.
That's such a powerful example that you've given, and it just goes to show the amount of work that you're doing when organizations can literally, I think it was one of the panelists I know was saying that your work will speak for you, and more opportunities will come your way. So we can really see how that does open the door for those kind of strategic partnerships. So thank you for sharing that. I'd like to come to you, Dr. Akinbajo, and look at what evidence or data is most urgent in convincing governments and donors to treat women's health access as a frontline climate and development priority.
Okay, thank you very much. When you look at data to present to convince government and donors, it's quite challenging because if you look at Nigerian government, our politicians' focus is more on infrastructure. And when you have that disruption of sexual and reproductive health service in emergencies, they focus more on cost of infrastructure rebuilding and doing that. So it becomes more critical for health systems, specialist people to be able to communicate and gain the attention of government and donors to prioritize women's health at that point in time. So we have a whole lot of data within the health sector, and that's where the challenge is. Knowing the data to present at this time that will speak the language and that will get the result that you want. There are three categories of such data. One is you want to look at the impact data. What is the impact of the emergency on disruption of SRH services? And if you can come up with such data to let them see that impact, the magnitude of the impact in that disruption, then you're likely to get their attention. In Sahel and in the Lake Chad Basin, we've had researches and we've had data to show that in times of crisis and emergency period, girls are likely to drop out of school. So we have that data showing that. We have that data also showing that when they drop out of school, they are likely to get married early. We have that data also to show that we have more gender-based violence at that point in time. You have more incidents. So these are data that you show. Then, unfortunately, you have more women dying as a result of not having access to childbirth in the course of delivery when they are giving birth and when they are delivering another life. Another category of data you want to look at and to convince government is data that shows their cost of inaction. That is their failure to act, failure to respond. And you must convert that to money, because that's what government understands and that's what they want to see. And so WHO and Guttmacher have estimated that for every $1 that you put in making modern contraceptives available to women, you are having a cost savings of $3 on maternal and neonatal health. So you should be able to present that data and show, the cost of having those commodities there for women, and for women having sickles, for women having cesarean section, for children having this. So you put that up and let them see that data, and you let them know you reduce this by just spending this. That is going to resonate well with them. Then the third category of data is data that shows the co-benefits of women's health and sustainable development. You must be able to link that when you prioritize women's health, they are going to engage in economy. They are there, they are working. I love what he said the other time. And something is just coming to me. Has anybody thought about menopausal leave? We talk about maternity leave. Are we thinking about menopausal leave? Menopausal leave does not have to be a leave that you take at a goal, but it can be staggered. You wake up in the morning and the way you feel like, and I don't feel like going to work today, you are able to press that and work from home and do that. So they are still able, because they are at home does not mean they are not contributing to the economy and to the capital development. They are still able to contribute to that capital development, contribute to what the government is doing, empower children, educate children. And of course, you can't leave women out of climate response. You cannot, because most of the activities they do or they engage in at home that benefits you and I, cooking, the source of energy and all those things, they are the ones to lead their community in these climate adaptation ways. So when you are able to present this data, show this evidence, and you link it directly, then I think you should be able to get the attention of the government. At UNFPA, we're supporting the government to, in terms of data, we do to support to get disaggregated data. People don't know, we work with sensors and we're trying to push that. And even at the national level, make sure that the data that we have within the country can really, they are accurate, they are reliable, and they are truly reflective of what the situation is. And that doesn't change in times of crisis as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, a round of applause. Data absolutely does not lie. You can argue on feelings, you can argue on thoughts, but when your storytelling and your insights come from rich data, you not necessarily guarantee success, but you certainly give yourself a fighting chance to get the results that you're looking for. We've really set the scene for this final question for you, Imi. How do we get ecosystem players to not only be part of the conversation? I mean, events like this are fantastic. We bring all the stakeholders together. We have conversations. But in view of bold actions, right? How do we move past the conversation to get to taking action of creating impact and truly empowering women?
All right, thank you. Honestly, I think we've seen the statistics flying everywhere. Africa has the highest number of women entrepreneurs. Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda. The statistics keep coming year in, year out. The same statistics indicate that when we come to the parameters of the revenue of the businesses and the income of the women, the tables change. The top are Americans, the UK, they always change. And I think it's about time we pay attention to the data. Women are starting businesses out of necessity, and there are so many. They are starting businesses because probably after maternity leave, they haven't been able to go back to work, because they need to pay fees for their children, because they need to survive. Now today, Persona Mary will handle bags. Tomorrow, she will handle shoes. The next week, she will realize, makeup. She will do makeup. She's basically trying to do something that works. Now, when Mary Persona wants a loan from Sterling Bank, she will not be able to get the loan because her business is informal. How do we support Mary to set up a stable, formal business? It's quite unfortunate that most players do not want to participate in the investment readiness journey of women businesses. They all want the cream. They all want the businesses that are formal, the ones that are doing well. Who is supporting the business of the woman who is informal? I think that is a question that I keep mentioning in the room. If we ignore the informal businesses, we shall not have the formal businesses. We shall sit here and have these conversations all the time, but we need to do action. If we say, let's take off, how can we support women entrepreneurs to get loans? Let's take off collateral in banks. It has worked in India. It can work in Nigeria, right? How many women have collateral in their names? How many women have land titles in their names or logbooks in their names? There are very few. So if a woman entrepreneur comes to a bank and you ask for collateral, you're already limiting her. So for me, I believe that ecosystem, we need to come together to co-create what needs to work. Let's get the banks on board to act so that to support the woman. Let's get the government to be part of the conversation. Let's get the institutions to commit to funds to support women entrepreneurs. Let's get the government to support enterprise support organizations. You know, after the USAID issue, many enterprise support organizations are struggling. Many of them have shut down. Now, these ESOs are the ones that support the women businesses and entrepreneurs. If they've shut down, who is supporting the women entrepreneurs? This is the conversation we need to have, all of us, on the table. So we need to go beyond the conferences. We need to act. We need to hold each other accountable. I loved it yesterday that there was a venture fund giving out ticket sizes to the businesses. That's where we need to go. We need to hold each other accountable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You've articulated some really big challenges that women face and highlighting, you know, we've talked about gender smart solutions, we've talked about the kind of strategies that we can put in place. But even in the face of all of these conversations, you've hit a really big problem on the head, and it calls for more innovation in that area of gender financing. It's been such a rich conversation so far. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you're itching to ask questions, because we're about to turn to you to take our questions. I already see one hand up here in the middle. I see another lady over there. That makes two. So let's start. If we can get the mics over there. That makes three. Awesome. Great. So we'll take the first lady in the middle and start from there. Let's know who you are, your organization, and who your question is directed at.
I am Joy London from the Queen of Empowerment Foundation. We're a resident in Delta State. I want to thank Stella One Foundation for this platform, and thank you to the panel. It's been a good time. I work with women all the time. I'm talking to them every day of my life. I am involved in their challenges. I watch them marry at 15. I watch them get pregnant by 13, 14 because their family is poor. And where I am from, I watch women tell their 16-year-old daughter to support the family. A girl you've not trained to school, you've not empowered with any skill or vocation, but she's already struggling to feed the home. I watch young girls come home with expensive phones and their parents do nothing about it. So the issues concerning women raised from health to finance, it's very big. But there is a perspective I have been working on it from, and I wanted to be sure that we have organizations looking at this. I have been pushing the agenda for capacity building. The average woman in Nigeria lacks confidence. She doesn't believe in herself. She's even afraid to dream. The average woman in Nigeria does not have the support. She's surrounded with people that when she tells them the beautiful things she believes she can build, they'll tell her, forget about it. You won't be able to achieve that. And with the work we've been doing in Delta State Warri precisely, we gather women, we teach them about self-confidence, we teach them about self-awareness, we show them that you can be everything you want if you put your mind to it. We teach them business, because if we give the women money and we do not teach them budgeting, marketing, accounts, you give them money, 5 months later when you go, they'll use it to feed their children and they amount to nothing at the end of the day. So, I am proposing, and I want to know that, and also a question, are we really looking at capacity building? Women need a lot of mental and emotional support. Are we looking at building communities? Because really, this is the only way we can scale very well. If we teach them confidence, if we teach them how to fish, if we teach them that they can be and they can do by themselves, women are resilient enough to come through with or without the support of government organizations, and those will be just the icing on the cake. Thank you very much.
I didn't get the name, but you're pretty. When it comes to mindset, it can either limit you or get you to limits that beyond your dreams. So I completely understand and relate with the fact that, and it's not just about feelings this time around. Research has shown that there are so many potentials that are not fulfilled, not even because they do not have those potentials, but simply because there's this lack of low self-esteem, self-confidence, and no drive to move out there. Now, it's not a one-off journey. It's not something that you can say, sit down in a classroom and let's build your confidence. It's ongoing. And that's why networks like WIMBIZ exist. Like I mentioned earlier, our mission is to inspire and empower women to attain leadership positions. Now, belonging to a network of women that are in different aspects of their journey, whether you're an entrepreneur at your startup, medium scale, or you're already a large scale business, or you're a corporate woman, entry level, mid-level, or a senior executive, as again, being in that gathering of women that are forces doing things in different strides goes a long way in building your self-esteem. So that definitely is one word that I'd like to put out there. But of course, there are different programs too that you can embark on, and not necessarily just through WIMBIZ. When you asked that, are these things that we're exploring? Yes. There's the WIMBOD program that I mentioned earlier. There's the Entrepreneurship Masterclass. There's the mentoring program too that will sort of handhold you and not make you go through reinventing the wheel to get things done. So definitely, it's an angle that there should be more focus on, especially on the mindset bits that you talked about and self-confidence. Thank you.
Okay, can I come? Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. I just want to provide, it's likely when you are working within a space, you feel I'm the only one doing this. It's heavy on me, but let me tell you, there are a lot of organizations working within that space. And what you have described is just gender social norms. And it's not something it's not like malaria. You do this today and you get well tomorrow. It's going to take a while. We work within that space. UNFPA work within that space, promote gender equality, and try to change those social norms over time. But it's not something that will happen immediately. And so we have organizations, we have people here, government, even within the government, Ministry of Women Affairs, they are doing a lot. So we may not be doing enough, but are we working within that space? Yes. The government is working within that space. Partners are working within that space to change the social norms, to address some of these social norms, and make you see that women should be given equal opportunity like men. Thank you.
Yes, I think mine will be a different approach, and to say that if you're a man or woman in this room and you know you have confidence, let's transfer confidence. And I'll tell you why. So where I worship every Sunday, I have children who walk up to me and tell me how they feel. But they tell me how their fathers and their mothers, through whatever they are saying to them, is killing their confidence. In the 21 years of being in this profession, I have never used the word, do you know who I am? But to strengthen that young girl's confidence, I had to say, now go back to your school, look that teacher in the face, and say XYZ. And she was like, I said, do you know who I am? He said, yeah, I know who you are. I said, then go and do it. Because at that point for me, it was a no-no for that teacher. Would the parents like it? That's why you must at some point start training children to have that kilema shefumi attitude. Some of us grew on the street, so we understand when to activate me attitude. Because otherwise, where do that confidence? You have to be someone that will say, no, I'm not going that way. I am going this way. And everybody goes that way. You go that way, you bear the consequence, and you learn the lesson. So if you are a man of confidence or a woman of confidence, when you see a small child, I mean, there's one prayer I pray for small children. I say, you will be greater than me. And when I say it in my language, they look, I say, yeah, you'll be greater than me. Because what's the essence of you not being greater than me? We must transfer confidence, because I noticed that as well. If you have a daughter, go and check today. Especially when they are preparing for school in the morning. You have not done this. That's how you be doing. It's fine, no. Sorry, I'm not crucifying, no. I'm just, honesty is what I'm doing, no. But it has an impact on the psychology. I'm not saying don't discipline, no. But you see some of the things, you are too slow. Is that how you are slow with your mates? Is that thing kills confidence. Again, I'm not a third generation father. I'm not a fourth generation father. I'm just a father and a parent. But I know the damaging effect from what the children told me. That my mother would tell me I am worthless. And that keeps ringing in my head. And I went to the mother and said, is your child worthless? She said, no, he's not worthless. Then I kept quiet.
I think the 80s children in the room can relate. The people that grew up in the you are seen but not heard generation. The current generation don't have those problems. So I think we're fixing that confidence problem a little bit at a time, but it is very important, and intentional parenting is absolutely great. Can we take the next question, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to say a very big thank you to those that planned this program. My name is Musumola Dosumu. I'm a pharmacist, and I'm the founder of Menopause Support Initiative. And I'd like to give it up to the he for she champion. And it's so funny. We keep encouraging women to keep going and moving. But at the particular stage in a woman's life, our productivity level drops. Nobody wants to talk about it. The federal government is not looking in that direction. I remember when I was growing up, my mother never told me about menopause. We don't talk about it. There's a funny silence about it. At 42, my body system started changing, and I used to beat my children. My 9-year-old son was the one that got up and told me, Mom, you need help. And for 2 years, and at that time, I had 5 branches of pharmacy, and I lost everything. I had depression, I had brain fog. For 2 years, I was living, but I was dead. There are over 64 signs and symptoms of menopause. When you go to the hospitals, doctors cannot identify it. And you have women going from one place to another. And at that stage, productivity level starts to drop. So I started this organization, Menopause Support Initiative. Every minute, you see women, even men, are joining the group. Today, we have more than 8,000 women on that WhatsApp group, over 100,000 followers. I've written a book, and on October happens to be World Menopause Day. We are doing a 10-kilometer walk in Lagos and extending it to 5 other states. Our champion would like to partner with you. And to Dr. Akibajo, is there any organization that supports menopause in Nigeria, apart from us?
All right, thank you very much. And we give it to the he for she. We are he for she, so we are co-opting him. All right, so there are organizations that support, and they are generally working towards women's health. It's just that menopause has been like a blind area that we've not really looked at. For us, we focus on reproductive health, and we know that menopause is also a component of reproductive health, and we are actually actively invading that space. So it will be good for you to partner with us, work with us, and in areas where we work, and there are also government is also pushing that agenda. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dukbe Oshomo, Base Network Limited. So I have a very simple question. I don't have a company that needs a collaboration. I don't have an angle. But I totally can identify with the lady, the compare, the lady coordinating, and the experiences I had growing up as a young executive in the bank. And I wanted to find out from Mr. He to she and everyone else on the panel, do you have any kind of like a group, like an advocacy group where you have different people coming together to have a conversation about the kind of policies that and laws that can be enacted so that these issues can be addressed in the workplace? For example, when you're in the workplace as a woman, you have to work 10 times as hard. And then when you are sick, or you have dysmenorrhea, or you have small children that are sick, you don't want to ask for time off, because when it's time for promotion, you know those things are going to work against you. Is there any kind of conversation that is going on to protect? I mean, I'm out of that space now, but the ones that are coming up to protect them from this, I know you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so at Wimbiz, we have what we call gender audit. And we do this by engaging corporate organizations. Now, the most recent one, we engaged law firms. Now, for these law firms, we had advocacy visits to their office. We have a simple questionnaire that has been prepared to understand where they are in their gender journey. Now, this speaks to where you are in terms of female representation across your organization, as well as in leadership positions. We have other questions like, what are your maternity leave policies? What kind of enabling environment do you create for these women to thrive? When it comes to their performance appraisals, do you have it prorated for a woman that goes on maternity leave for 4 months, for instance? Do you base her performance for the 8 months in which she was active? Do you have a lactation room in the office? Do you have crèche services or crèche credit for these women? And what other mentorship program do you even have for them to let them know, just like she mentioned about someone not ever speaking to her about menopause? What are the kind of conversations that you allow to happen in the workplace and you foster that? Now, what that does, I mean, for some law firms, they are doing very well, and we're going to make the report public. For every organization that we engage, we make it public to, thank you, to showcase, first of all, best practices and how it's impacting the workplace and how it's also helping these women thrive in the workplace without feeling sidelined, as the case may be. So making the reports public will showcase best practices so that other firms too can adopt what is going well, and as well as assess themselves on what they need to improve on. Thank you.
I need to ask, on a policy level.
Also for policy, I mean, it's all inclusive. I just didn't mention that as part of the survey question that is engaged. We sensitize them on global practices. First of all, what should this be? And the policies that they should have in place. Maternity leave, for instance, is it fully paid? And how often is it? Do they have enough time to bond with mother and child? We were talking earlier too about emotional wellness. If the mother is bothered about something at home, believe me, you cannot get the best of her in that place. So these policies in place, even policies when it comes to recruitment. Do you have gender sensitivity when you're recruiting into your organization and firm? So policies, so even after showcasing these reports, there are recommendations that are given, which policy guidelines are also included. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's applaud her. I mean, I just want to say this. If nobody looks after women, and we're advocating that we want to look after women, and we just must do that. But if nobody looks after women, there is you should look after yourself. And women are doing that. But one way that will help you to do that is contraceptives. Contraceptives builds confidence, gives you confidence. allows you to be able to space, not going back and asking for maternity leave and doing this and doing that. And you have that, and you can actually plan when, how many. And so it's the first empowerment I think a woman needs to embrace for herself, and why we are pushing and advocating for other support for other people to speak for women. Thank you.
So we'll take our final comments from you, ABC.
Okay, I think for me, I'm not sure whether I'm a he for she. I like it, but I'm not sure. But the honest truth is to say, if we truly want a better society, then whether you are a man or woman, you must pay attention to how we deal with each other. That's one. The second bit is the policies. It's at the implementation, right? When 2 of my staff got pregnant, 2 in a unit got pregnant, I didn't do gender-based budgeting because I didn't know anything about that. So 2 got pregnant, went on maternity leave at the same time. I filled that role myself. So then I was saying to someone that I'm not sure I will ever recruit a woman again. So in your recruitment, by the time recruitment, am I just a woman? They will go now for prayer and I will be. But how do I consciously say to myself, no? Do we have a policy that supports them to do the work? So the policies, the checkboxes, honestly, I love them. They are fine. But maybe take it further and ask the staff, what does implementation look like? Here's my awakening. Whether we like it or not, we need population to grow the economy. If we are not supporting women to have agency, I like what is happening now. You see our boys that are coming up, girls go show them. So if you now don't train your boy to understand that the chances that your wife would be richer than you, knows how to do better things than you, it's already too late. So.
I think that is a fantastic note on which to end this completely excellent conversation. I told you I was biased at the beginning. I think I proved that my bias was right? I mean, we can't stop talking about gender issues, but as we were charged earlier, we need to go beyond the conversations and really put these actions into practice so that we can truly improve the lives of African women. I want to thank my panelists. I want to thank you, our audience, for being engaging. And that brings us to the end of this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Our awesome panel. Yes, pictures, please. Pictures. Thank you so much.